Sponsored by Skillshare. Roll of the dice accurate Mako Takara dropped some rumor bombs this week about the new 4th generation iPad Air. When you combine them with the previous rumors from supply chain exfiltrator extraordinaire Guomingchi and the sometimes lucid Love to Dream Twitter account over the last couple of months, it provides a compelling vision for what might be the next generation iPad Air. That, or just a tantalizing fantasy. The original iPad Air, released in October of 2013, took the slimmed-down design of the iPad mini and stretched it out around a classic 9.7-inch iPad display, and for the classic iPad price of $499. The 2nd generation iPad Air, released in October of 2014, laminated that display to get rid of the air gap, thinned it out even more, and added a Touch ID fingerprint identity sensor to the home button, all still at $499. Then nothing. The iPad Air just took a little break, a little pause, a holiday, while Apple focused on the iPad Pro, including a 9.7-inch version introduced in March of 2016 that was, for all intents and purposes, the iPad Air Pro, just for $100 more at $599. In June of 2017, Apple took that 9.7-inch iPad Pro to 10.5 inches to better fit the Smart Keyboard, and in October of 2018 gave it an all-new, all-retro future redesign with an 11-inch screen that finally blew out the top and bottom bezels and the home button and Touch ID as well, replacing them with Face ID and a facial geometry identity scanner. But then, in March of last year, the iPad Air made a surprise comeback, basically taking the 10.5-inch iPad Pro and some very pro parts, specifically the ones that allowed for Smart Keyboard and Apple Pencil support, and reclaiming them at the $499 price point. No 4-speaker system, no pro-level camera system, no ProMotion adaptive refresh rate, no X-Class graphics processor, but Apple had evolved the current Pros enough that they were willing and able to push the old Pro technology down to the Air and fit them into the Air's budget. Because that's how Apple rolls. They use the higher prices and profits of the Pro line to develop new technologies, and then, as those technologies are scaled up and paid down, Apple scales them out and pushes them down through the stack, to the entry level when they can and to the mid-range when they have one. So, putting the rumors in context, now that the modern iPad Pro design has been out for over a year and a half, and likely will have been out for 2 years, maybe more by the time any of this pans out, Apple could well be ready to push that design down to the Air, even if only in 2-speaker form. The rumors surrounding the next generation iPad Air display are even more interesting. The way Apple pushes technologies down is partially due to how costs reduce over time, but also partially due to how differentiation shifts to new technologies over time. The 2019 iPad Air 3 could reclaim the casing of the 2017 iPad Pro because the 2018 iPad Pro had gotten a new casing. When and where costs aren't significantly reduced or new differentiation introduced, Apple can still push some aspects of previously premium features down to the mid-range or entry level, just not all. The 2019 iPad Air 3 got the 10.5-inch display of the 2017 iPad Pro, but it didn't get promotion. The 2019 entry-level iPad got a 10.2-inch display, but it still didn't even get it laminated. So, if you'd asked me before, I would have guessed that if the next iPad Air was getting the iPad Pro redesign, the Pro would get something else, like mini LED to keep its premium edge. But the rumor is the Air, along with basically everything else in Apple's non-entry level lineup, will be going mini LED at the same time as well. Now, mini LED is a technology that takes the traditional backlights used for LCD and replaces them with pixel level backlights for better local dimming. Basically, it's a way to try and get some of the deeper blacks and higher contrasts of OLED, but without all the drawbacks that come with OLED. If these rumors are at all accurate, it sounds like Apple sees mini LED less as a premium differentiator and more as a brand differentiator. In other words, something that doesn't make the iPad Pro better, but something that makes Apple products better. Like in-plane switching, or IPS, which quickly spread across most of Apple's displays years ago, or DCI P3 wide gamut color, or True Tone ambient white balancing, which are on all but a few entry-level products now. Even if the peak brightness ends up being better on the next Pros than the next Airs, if this rumor proves true, they'll still be premium-looking displays. Where Apple might then keep some extra level of differentiation is the size. If the iPad Air simply inherits the smaller iPad Pro design, that display size would be 11 inches, which is exactly what some of the rumors say. But Other rumors hint that it could be 10.8 inches instead, just slightly smaller. If that's not an updated entry level or a whole different iPad entirely, it could mean Apple is going to do exactly what they did with the 2019 iPad nothing. Keep the display just a little bit smaller to keep the price tag just a little bit lower. Because that's how a lot of this works. Apple picks its price tags, knows its margins, and then tries to cram in everything it can to meet those price tags and margins. How big a troll would it be? How big a troll would it really be if after shipping USB-C on the MacBooks, USB-C on the Apple TV, even though it's hidden above and behind the Ethernet port now, and USB-C on the iPad Pro, if Apple's next USB-C device still wasn't the iPhone, but the iPad Air? That's exactly part of the rumor though, that with the iPad Pro redesign will come the iPad Pro interconnect. And that kind of further blurs the lines. Back in 2016, it was crystal, binary clear, Lightning for iOS devices, USB-C for macOS. In 2018 though, when the iPad Pro went USB-C, and we all tilted our heads and squinted and guessed that Lightning was for mainstream devices, like iPhones and non-Pro iPads, and USB-C was for all the nerdier niche, which was traditional Mac computers and newfangled Pro iPads. But if the iPad Air goes USB-C as well, does that mean Apple's expanding the range of USB-C to include the mainstream, or expanding the niche to include the iPad Air? Because I'd still love the iPhone Pro to get expanded into that niche as well. Hit the like button if you agree. Either way, being able to work with USB-C accessories, which are essentially computer accessories, would make the next iPad Air far more useful to people who want and need exactly those kinds of accessories. Speaking of which, when it comes to Apple accessories, the iPad Air getting the Pro design raises some other questions as well. For example, the third generation iPad Air got Apple Pencil support for the first generation Apple Pencil. And again, Apple maintained differentiation there because the iPads Pro had gotten a second generation Apple Pencil just half a year earlier. But if the fourth generation iPad Air gets the iPad Pro treatment, would it also get that iPad Pro magnetically inductively charging second generation Apple Pencil as well? Likewise, the third generation iPad Air got smart keyboard support for the original smart keyboard, because the iPads Pro had previously gotten support for the second generation smart keyboard. So if the next Air goes just a little more Pro, would it also get support for the modern smart connector, and not just the current smart keyboard, but the brand new Magic Keyboard as well? That would certainly be one hell of an upgrade for the Air, and upsell for the Magic Keyboard. But what would it mean for the iPad Pro? Well, hit subscribe because I'll cover that in a follow-up video. Now, one of the stranger rumors swirling around the next iPad Air is that if and when it gets the iPad Pro design, it won't be getting Face ID along with it. No, instead it'll be getting an in-display version of Touch ID. There's a similar rumor involving future iPhones as well. Given everything Apple has invested in Face ID though, and the importance of the true depth camera system and augmented reality in general to Apple's future plans, it seems unlikely that they would just ditch the technology completely. If this rumor is true, and everything is always an if up until Apple announces it, then maybe the in-display fingerprint scanner is simply less expensive than the TrueDepth array, and that helps Apple get the new Air into the new design while keeping it at the classic $499 price point. But it does raise a whole bunch of other issues, like people who prefer Touch ID to Face ID in general won't see it as a downgrade, they'll see it as an upgrade, and no doubt they'll want it in the higher end devices as well. So, wait, no. I need more better coffee to figure this out. Luckily, that's where Skillshare comes in. You get Michael Phillips, Director of Training at Blue Bottle, showing you what it takes to brew an amazing cup of coffee right at home, right where so many of us are still stuck right now, and exactly where we need the best coffee the most. Not Dunkin', not Timmy's, not Starbucks, but right here, right now. Really. Right now. But Skillshare will also get you so much more. It's an online learning community that offers membership with meaning, with classes that explore illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more, with real projects to create and the support of real fellow creatives. You can learn and grow with short classes that fit your routine and affordably with an annual subscription that's less than $10 a month. Join more than 7 million creators learning with Skillshare, and the first 1,000 of you who click the link in the description will get 2 months of Skillshare Premium absolutely free. Act now and start learning today. Thanks Skillshare, and thanks to all of you for your support. Like I said before, Face ID breaks down if you wear a mask. Touch ID breaks down if you wear gloves. We need to move beyond single-point biometrics to something that's less about us working for the machine and more about the machine working for us. More on that in a future video as well. Meanwhile, hit up the comments and let me know, what do you want to see in the next iPad Air? Thanks for watching, and for more on what Apple's doing next, check out my rumor analysis playlist here or here, one of those heres, and just click and I'll see you next video.